The airport's still open, but the plane's sitting idle. The beachside boardwalk empty. Hotels prices, but the rooms stay dark. Something is cracking beneath the surface. And it is not just the economy. It is the lifeblood of entire states. Tourism, once a golden engine of growth, is seizing up. One by one, iconic destinations are going silent. Not from disaster, from neglect, policy, and something far more unsettling. People just stopped coming. Which states are already unraveling? Which ones could be next? Stay close, because these 10 places are not just losing tourists. They are losing time. Number 10. Nevada. Casinos are still lit up, but the crowd's thinner than they have been in years. Hotel suites sit untouched. Buffets once overflowing, now run half-empty or shutter completely. Something is shifting in Nevada. And it is not just bad luck at the tables. Las Vegas, the heart of the state's economy, just saw one of its sharpest tourism drops in over a decade. Strip visitation is down more than 6%, gaming revenue falling, and here's where it gets alarming. Nevada is one of the most tourism-dependent states in the entire country. When tourists stop flying in, everything slows down. Restaurant jobs vanish, entertainment dries up, even real estate cools as investors pull back. But the real danger, this is not a blip. This could be the beginning of a permanent reset. What happens to a state when its main attraction loses its shine? And what happens to everyone who built their future around it? Number 9. California. Golden sunsets, iconic highways, and blockbuster dreams. But behind the postcard, a storm is brewing. California, one of the world's most visited destinations, is starting to slip, and not quietly. International travel is drying up, especially from Canada, its second-largest market. Entire cities that once thrived on tourism, like San Francisco, Anaheim, and parts of Los Angeles, are reporting fewer visitors, declining hotel revenue, and rising vacancy signs. The numbers are real. Even with over $177 billion in tourism spending last year, 2025 is showing the first signs of a true pullback. And here's the twist. This slowdown is hitting just as the state's cost of living reaches all-time high. Theme parks, beach towns, and wine country can only hold on for so long. Without global interest, is the California dream starting to fade? Before we go further, hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep digging deeper, and trust us, what's coming next will shock you. Number 8. Florida. Palm trees still sway, theme parks still sparkle, but behind the sunshine, something's gone quiet. Florida, a titan of American tourism, is suddenly on unstable ground. The state depends heavily on international visitors, especially from Canada, but in 2025, those travelers just stopped coming. Here's the reality. Flight bookings from Canada to Florida plunged more than 70% for the spring and summer. That is not a dip. That is a free fall. And with that drop, Florida is now staring at a $2.1 billion shortfall in spending and 14,000 tourism-related jobs on the line. Take Miami, take Orlando. Even beach towns, like Clearwater and Naples, they are all feeling it. Resorts offer steep discounts just to fill rooms. Restaurants that once had lines out the door now close early. But this is not just about vacations. This is about ripple effects. When tourism shrinks, Florida's economy takes a hit in housing, hospitality, transportation, even retail. And here is where it gets even more serious. Florida has no backup plan. This state is built on sunshine, fantasy, and tourism dollars. When one of those fails, everything else starts to crack. Even domestic travel cannot fill the hole left by international spending. Overseas visitors typically stay longer and spend more, and right now that cash flow is drying up. So what triggered this sudden downturn? Some point to rising costs. Others blame global tensions, stricter border policies, and travel fatigue. Whatever the cause, the numbers do not lie. And neither do the empty hotel lobbies. What happens if this trend continues into next year? What happens if another storm, economic or literal, hits the state while it is already down? Florida may still look like a paradise from the outside, but on the inside it is one canceled flight away from crisis. Number 7. New York. The skyline still stuns, the lights still shine. But look closer and you will see something else. Quiet streets where tourists used to swarm. New York City, once the beating heart of international tourism in the United States, is starting to slip. In 2025, city officials had to revise their forecast downward. They expected 67 million visitors. Instead, they now predict 64 million. That is 3 million fewer people walking into hotels, restaurants, museums and Broadway theaters. Here is what makes this different. Of that drop, 2 million are international visitors. And international tourists are not casual spenders. They are the economic engine. They stay longer, spend more, and right now they are disappearing. For a city like New York, where half of all tourism dollars come from outside the country, that is a direct hit to the gut. So what is causing the pullback? Rising costs, global inflation, a stronger US dollar, and growing concerns over safety and cleanliness. To many would-be visitors, New York is not feeling as magical as it used to, and it is not just perception. Local businesses are already feeling the impact. You would be surprised how many restaurants in Manhattan rely on foot traffic from global travelers, or how many shops in Soho depend on overseas spending. When those dollars vanish, jobs do too. Tour guides, hotel staff, retail workers. Thousands now face reduced hours or layoffs. And it goes deeper. Lower tourism means lower tax revenue. That threatens public services, infrastructure upgrades, and programs that keep the city running smoothly for everyone, not just visitors. The truth is, New York is still iconic, still powerful, but cracks are forming and they are growing fast. Could this be the early warning sign of a bigger urban downturn? Before we dive into the next city, do not forget to subscribe. That is how we keep bringing you stories that matter, stories others are not telling, and trust us, what comes next is even more unexpected. Number 6. Hawaii. It looks like paradise from the air. Turquoise water, lush mountains, golden beaches. But the closer you get, the more the cracks begin to show. Hawaii, long seen as the crown jewel of U.S. tourism, is now facing a storm it cannot surf its way out of. In 2025, visitor numbers have dropped sharply, especially from international markets like Japan and Canada, which historically made up a huge share of the state's spending base. But here is the twist. It is not just fewer tourists, it is fewer dollars. Average visitor spending has declined in nearly every major Hawaiian island this year. Even popular destinations like Oahu and Maui are seeing hotel occupancy rates sink to lows, not seen since the pandemic era. And the cause? A dangerous mix. Rising flight prices, stricter vacation rental laws, wildfires in Maui that devastated parts of the island and scared off travelers, and a growing local resistance to over-tourism, which has led to tighter regulations and fewer accommodations. The result, Hawaii's tourism industry, is now fighting a war on two fronts: falling demand and shrinking capacity. Businesses that depend on visitors are closing shop or cutting staff. Tour guides, surf instructors, restaurant workers, all are seeing fewer hours and slimmer paychecks. In remote areas, some families are already leaving the islands altogether. But the deeper issue, Hawaii does not have much of a fallback. Tourism makes up over 20% of the state's entire economy. There is no plan B, no backup engine to replace the billions lost when flights get canceled or visitors stay away. And it is not just about money. The cultural and environmental toll is growing. Locals are asking hard questions. How much more strain can these islands take? And if tourism shrinks too far, what happens to the hundreds of communities that rely on it to survive? The answer may already be unfolding, one quiet beach at a time. Number 5. Arizona. From a distance it still looks like a desert success story. Sunny skies, booming cities, and endless trails drawing visitors year-round. But take a closer look, and something starts to feel off. Arizona's tourism industry, once a rising star, is beginning to flicker. In 2025, visitor spending dropped by nearly 7%, and the hit has been felt across the board, from Sedona's high-end resorts to Grand Canyon tour operators. And here is the eye-opener: international tourism is down over 10%, with Canadian travel, one of Arizona's biggest sources, taking a nosedive. The reasons are stacking up. Record heat waves have shattered summer travel, deterring even the most loyal visitors. Water restrictions and wildfire risks are growing, and airfare to the southwest higher than ever. But there's a deeper issue here. Arizona has been rapidly expanding, betting heavily on hospitality and real estate. When tourism slows, that house of cards wobbles, construction pauses, short-term rentals sit vacant, restaurants, spas, and golf resorts scale back, or close entirely. Even cities like Scottsdale and Phoenix are now seeing hotel bookings flatten and seasonal employment shrink. In places like Flagstaff and Page, towns that rely almost entirely on national park traffic, the slowdown feels more like a stop. And it is not just economic. Arizona's natural wonders are facing overuse, pushing the state to crack down on access. That means fewer permits, tighter regulations, and even more friction for visitors. So what happens when the landscapes that built your brand become too fragile to promote, or when the climate becomes part of the threat instead of the draw? Arizona's tourism downturn is not a free fall yet, but the signs are everywhere. Dry riverbeds, closed trailheads, empty patio tables. Before we head to the next state, do not forget to subscribe. It helps us keep digging into the stories most people are not talking about. And trust us, what comes next could change everything you thought you knew about American travel. Number 4, Louisiana. The music still echoes through the streets. The food still draws crowds. But behind the jazz and jambalaya, something is breaking. Louisiana, home to one of America's most iconic cultural destinations, is in trouble. In 2025, tourism is not just slowing, it is stalling. New Orleans, the state's crown jewel, has seen international travel dip by over, and with it the dollars that keep its economy alive are vanishing. Hotels are reporting sharp drops in occupancy. Events like Mardi Gras and Jazz Fest are seeing fewer out-of-state attendees. The French Quarter, once wall-to-wall with tourists, now has empty storefronts and shorter lines, not because the city fixed congestion, but because fewer people are showing up. And here's what makes this even more serious. Tourism in Louisiana is not just about entertainment, it is survival. This industry supports over 200,000 jobs across the state, and when those jobs disappear, the damage ripples far beyond Bourbon Street. But the slowdown is not just a fluke. Rising crime rates in key tourist areas have sparked safety concerns. Combine that with inflation, extreme summer heat, and the increasing frequency of hurricanes, and you have a perfect storm. Many travelers are now choosing to spend their money elsewhere. Some say the experience feels less welcoming. Others simply cannot justify the cost. And as international travel to the U.S. remains uneven post-pandemic, Louisiana is falling behind states that offer safer, cleaner, or more consistent alternatives. Cities like Baton Rouge, Lafayette, and Shreveport are also feeling the pinch. Local festivals, historic tours, and culinary attractions are all reporting fewer bookings, and rural parishes that relied on seasonal travel dollars, they are being left behind. This is not just a tourism slump, it is a warning. Louisiana is a place built on story, rhythm, and resilience. But if this trend continues, it may soon become a case study in how even the richest culture cannot protect a fragile economy. Number 3, Missouri. From riverboats to barbecue, Missouri built its brand on experience. But now, cracks are forming in the very things that brought people here in the first place. Missouri's tourism engine, especially in cities like St. Louis, Branson, and Kansas City, is stalling, And the numbers in 2025 paint a troubling picture. Visitor spending has dropped significantly in key regions, with hotel bookings down as much as 12% in some areas, compared to the previous year. Branson, once a tourism powerhouse built on music shows and family attractions, has seen its audience shrink dramatically. Fewer group tours, fewer seniors, fewer dollars flowing into the heart of the Ozarks. What was once steady and dependable now feels fragile, and aging performers in shuttered theaters are becoming more common. And in St. Louis, the problem is even harder to ignore. The city has struggled with a spike in crime headlines, and some travelers have taken their business elsewhere. Convention business is down. Major events have moved to safer or more profitable cities. Even downtown hotels are offering steep discounts just to stay. Missouri's problem is not just perception, it is pressure from all sides. In Kansas City, the airport expansion was supposed to boost tourism and business travel, but the return has been slower than expected. Meanwhile, inflation has hit family travel hard, and local attractions, museums, zoos, entertainment districts are seeing thinner crowds. And here is the real issue. Missouri relies heavily on drive-in domestic tourism, but when gas prices rise, or families cut back on weekend trips, this kind of travel dries up fast. Small towns across the state, from Herman to Hannibal, are already seeing fewer out-of-town guests. That means less foot traffic, fewer open shops, and slower seasons that once brought in critical revenue. Before we reveal the next state on this list, do not forget to subscribe. It helps us dig deeper and bring you the stories behind the headline. And what is coming next may surprise you even more. Number 2. Illinois. Skyscrapers still scrape the sky, the river still snakes through downtown, but behind the glossy skyline of Chicago and beyond, there's a troubling silence growing across Illinois. In 2025, Illinois is facing a tourism crisis most are not talking about. Chicago, once a magnet for global travelers, saw international tourism dip more than 14% this year. Business travel, conventions and tourism spending all are slumping, and it is not just a slow season, it is a sharp downward curve. Why? Start with crime perception. While some statistics are improving, headlines continue to shape how visitors feel. International tourists in particular are skipping Chicago for cities with a safer image, and domestic travelers, especially families, are changing plans entirely. But zoom out, and the problem runs deeper than one city. In Springfield, Peoria, and Rockford, tourism never fully bounced back post-pandemic. Statewide attractions, historic sites, music festivals, river cruises are struggling to regain momentum. Even the Route 66 corridor, once a nostalgic cash machine, now feels deserted in stretches. Some roadside businesses are shuttered, others are barely hanging on. And here is the twist. Illinois is one of the most taxed states in the country. That means higher hotel taxes, higher food costs, and higher prices for travelers. For budget-conscious tourists, Illinois is getting harder to justify, especially when neighboring states offer more for less. Tourism jobs are drying up too. In the last 12 months, the state shed thousands of positions tied to hospitality and leisure. That does not just impact big hotels, it trickles down to local diners, family-run attractions, even gas stations along tourist routes. And the irony, Illinois has everything a visitor could want: architecture, food, music, history, but in 2025, fewer are showing up to see it. This is not just a dip in bookings, it is a warning sign for a state whose budget is already stretched. And if Illinois cannot reverse this tourism slide soon, it may face a much bigger problem than empty hotel rooms. Number 1. Texas. The Lone Star State, known for doing everything bigger, is suddenly shrinking where it matters most: tourism. You might picture packed rodeos, buzzing music festivals, and long lines at barbecue joints. But look closer. In 2025, some of Texas's biggest draws are showing signs of serious strain. Austin, once the crown jewel of cultural tourism, is losing visitors faster than it can count.
Hotel occupancy in downtown dropped over 11% this spring alone, and local businesses tied to live music say foot traffic is thinning by the week. San Antonio, with its iconic Riverwalk, is seeing fewer tour convention bookings are falling short, and rising summer temperatures, breaking records nearly every year, are starting to scare off casual travelers who used to flock here during peak season. Then there is Houston, the oil capital that once pulled in international business travelers, is seeing flight traffic slow, fewer trade shows, more empty lobbies, and after multiple hurricanes and power grid failures in recent years, tourists are asking, is it worth the risk? Even smaller towns like Fredericksburg and Waco are reporting fewer bookings in bed and breakfasts and wineries. Rising costs, unpredictable weather, and overcrowding in some places have left a sour aftertaste for repeat visitors. And the biggest shock, despite all this, Texas continues to pour money into promotion, while cracks in the experience grow deeper. Tourism helped build modern Texas, but if this trend keeps accelerating, it could help unravel it too. If this shocked you, imagine what's coming next. These states aren't just struggling, some are on the edge of collapse. Help us keep uncovering the truth. Hit that subscribe button, like the video, and share it with someone who needs to see what's really happening across America.